In Luke 20, the gospel writer said that the enemies of Christ sent in spies to trap him. And after careful consideration, they found the perfect opportunity. Or so they thought. This crowd had a mix of people. On one hand, it consisted of Sadducees who had the power and wanted to keep the Romans happy so they could remain in power. On the other hand, it consisted of Zealots who believed that God had given the Jews a divine deed to Israel and that they should bow to no authority but God. This mix was always a powder keg ready to blow, and the enemies of Jesus would try to use him as the fuse. Here is the trap they planned. Conquered lands were required to pay taxes to Rome, and Israel was no different. The Sadducees wanted to pay the taxes peacefully, but the Zealots felt it was sinful to do so. This was the classic no-win scenario that would certainly anger at least half of Jesus' supporters, or worse, cause the Romans to step in and arrest him as an insurrectionist. And once the enemies of Jesus could get his supporters fighting among themselves, or cause the Romans to step in and take action against him, they could waltz in and pick up the pieces. Is it lawful for us to give tribute to Caesar or not? But he perceived their craftiness and said to them, "Show me a denarius." "Whose likeness and inscription does it have?" They said, "Caesar's." He said to them, "Then render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." On one side of the coin had an image of Tiberius and an inscription equating to the Son of God. And the other side had an image of Tiberius's mother with an inscription equating to High Priest. This would have made paying taxes with this coin all the more repugnant to the Jews. But Jesus answers in all wisdom as only God can do. As much as possible, his followers always serve as peaceful citizens. We give the government what is due them: taxes, obedience, and honor. This is confirmed throughout the New Testament. But we give to God what is due him. That is 100% of our allegiance. As long as service to the government does not take from God, part of our service to him is to live peacefully and lawfully as much as is within our power. But when the government infringes on what is due God, whether it is right in the sight of God to listen to you rather than to God, you must judge. For we cannot but speak what we have seen and heard. The time may come when the government asks us to render to them the things that belong to God alone. When that time comes, we must have the same spirit that Peter and John had. We must be willing to obey God rather than man. I pray that all Christians everywhere have the wisdom and the boldness to render to God his due, and the meekness and the humility to render unto Caesar his due. And they were not able in the presence of the people to catch him in what he said, but marveling at his answer, they became silent.